Is Deshaun Jackson a must-play this week? Are any pass catchers left standing in Oakland? And does Ito Smith actually make a better play than Adrian Peterson? Plus, the 17th place team owner in the Football Guys Players Championship, Phil Hooton, drops by to talk about how he made drafting 2 tight ends early work, whether you need to make room for Theo Riddick in your lineup this week, and more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Hey, bro.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is Dave Gerzak, the patron saint of fantasy football, better known as the Dizzle. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll give you the latest on the Jimmy Graham injury, what you should do with James Conner in Dynasty, and Phil Hooton will tell us how he's gotten a team all the way up to 17th place in the 2018 Football Guys Players Championship. Shout out to the chat room right now and post any questions you might have for myself, for Dave, or for Phil in there. Twitter is where you can connect with us as well, at HSFFHour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak, and of course, Facebook.com/HSFFHour if you're a Facebooker. 347-426-3682, that's 347-GAME-OVA if you want to give us hop on the blower tonight and give us a call, talk a little fantasy football. We'd love to do that. highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com is where you can get your emails read on the air tonight if you have a question as well. If you have something that you want to get off your chest, some questions, whatever, get it to us now, and we'll get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up at the bottom of the hour. The producer and mutual friend is Rob. The audio engineer is Bryce, working very hard tonight, guys. Appreciate that. A couple of things right at the top of the show. Dave, we talked about this last week on the air. The I Got 5 on It wagers are listed on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour's website. That's hsffhour.com. If you go up to the very top of the page, like once you go to it, there's an I Got 5 on It tab, and just click on that. It'll bring up everything on there so you can follow along there and see how great I am doing this year. Second best on the wagers, I think, next to Dave. So that's where we're at on that.
Whatever.
Secondly, before we get to Phil Hooton, a new high-stakes lowdown on rotoviz.com this week with Steve Reeses, the 40th place Football Guys Players Championship team. rotoviz.com/podcast, where you can check that out. It's also on the Spreaker channel as well, spreaker.com/high-stakes lowdown. We talk about replacing Cooper Kupp. We talk about the future of Gronkowski, not only for the rest of the season, but his future in New England there. And we got into some stuff on Josh Doxson as well. So all good stuff. If you want to know how to manage a minimal fab budget this late in the season, I think Steve has some good tips in there as well. rotoviz.com/podcast. Let's bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He's been playing competitive fantasy football for 13 years. His father told him, wow, you're actually pretty good at this, and staked him for a money league at the age of 16. Fast forward all the way to now. He is co-owning FFPC teams with his uncle, and he's sitting just 16 spots away from the top of the 7,800 team heap in the 2018 FPC. Please welcome onto the show, Mr. Phil Hooton. Phil, thanks so much for doing the show this week.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming on. 17th place. That's gotta feel pretty good, man.
Pretty good. Just worried about. At first, I was just worried about making the playoff on number 1 or number 2, but now it's pretty good to be in 17th.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you set the goals. You set the goals up really well as far as what you need to tick off the old list, and you're on your way, man. Before we get into fantasy football, tell the listeners what you do for a living.
I'm currently working to become a counselor for private practice, so I got one more test to do, and then I'll be on my way.
So when's that last test?
December 5th.
All right, so this could be a banner year for you. You get that counseling license, and you're cashing a $250,000 check. This could be the greatest end of year celebration for you ever.
That would be pretty sweet.
Definitely would be. You know, Bucky, I don't have any questions. I usually have questions about people's positions. I don't have any questions. I might need the counseling, but I don't have any questions.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a certain sect of fantasy footballers that come January, the business would be booming, I would imagine.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about fantasy a little bit.
Well, and then add all the kickers in too, and you'll be fine.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that. That's a business. Is that a specialty license that you can get as a counselor, like specialty in American football kickers?
I don't know. I should make it though.
Give it a shot.
It'd be big.
All right, so you're up to 17th in the Football Guys Players Championship here. After you drafted the team, how close did you think it could be to being a real big contender? Do you think you had a good shot?
When I drafted it, not really, but then when Hyde in the beginning and then Chubb went off when he left, then I started thinking, oh, this could do something. And then James White, of course, too, was a surprise.
Yeah, James White's been killing it.
I'm curious, Phil, on that, because I was looking at your draft board earlier today, and Sony Michel, I think, went in the same round as James White, probably like 10 picks before he took James White. I'm curious, if you would have had to pick between Michel and James White at that time, would you have still picked White or would you have gone Michel?
At that time, I believe me and my uncle were leaning James White more over Sony Michel because I think we did it in a couple other leagues as well.
We should explore that relationship with your uncle. How did you guys get into co-owning teams in the FFPC? I mean, I know your dad sort of staked you in that league on CBS earlier, but then you got to be playing high stakes with your uncle. How did that come to be?
He just reached out to me and said, do you want to do this with me? And I said, sure, because he'd been hearing from my dad and just from me in general about how I was doing by myself, and my uncle Kevin plays too, so we just all talk from time to time. So he asked me if I wanted to join up, and I said sure.
So were you just killing it in your family league, and everybody was getting mad at you, and finally one of them was like, fine, I'll team up with you?
High school, been doing high school groups. CBS Sports is where I started. That one was a little more difficult because you had to win the whole thing, winner take all. So I won one, and so I was happy.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. Hey, has it been challenging? Because I have co-managers on some of my teams, and I know sometimes it can be challenging when you're butting heads or you just have philosophical differences on drafting styles or who to start or who to bid on. Has there been like some acrimony between you guys where you just can't agree on what to do in a certain situation?
Not really, but the one that was the biggest was one of the live drafts in Vegas for one of the best ball leagues. He wanted to draft Wentz and Luck, and I was like, they have the same bye week. So that we got into a little heated argument about that. But then we ended up drafting the Bills 2 QBs to be safe, but we're not. So that was the only kind of got heated.
I gotcha. No, that's cool. The other thing, we talk about, Dave and I cover these pros versus Joe's drafts for the FFPC in July. We usually say it's very difficult to, and these are best balls, so they're a little bit different, but it's very difficult to win when you're taking both a tight end and a quarterback early or 2 quarterbacks early. And in some situations, it's been difficult to try to put together a winning team when you take 2 tight ends early. But you kind of bucked that trend because in the second and third rounds of this draft, at the 212 and the 301, you go with Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz back-to-back, and both those guys are absolutely crushing it this year. You can make the case that they are the only 2 tight ends that have really been consistently crushing it all season. Talk a little bit about what you remember of the strategy that went into both those 2 picks. Were you just trying to force the issue to try to push tight ends up on the board and let some value fall to you later on at running back and receiver? Or, was this just a case of like, hey, we can really make our mark here with Gurley and now pair these next two tight ends, we could have a really dominant, explosive team.
So when it was happening, we never thought Kelsey was going to make it back there. So we were shocked about that, but we really wanted Mixon. But then once Mixon went, and we didn't really feel comfortable with any of the wide receivers there, so we said, why don't we just double up on the tight ends and then, again, like you said, push the pressure on everybody else to draft a tight end.
It worked out, Dave. Kelsey and Ertz, that's been the dominant combo this year.
Yeah, with Gurley, that's pretty amazing.
I don't know how accurate this is, just as an aside. On the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship podcast, Farrell Elliott said that there, out of the top 25 teams, there was only 2 Gurley squads, if you can believe that.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Which was pretty shocking to me. Yeah.
It is shocking.
Yeah. And you know who has
That's
one
good
of
for
them?
me to hear.
This guy. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Gurley's just been a godsend this year. I was also looking at some other FFPC board, and it might have been actually Steve Reese's football guys team, and he had the second overall pick. Well, he had the second pick of his draft, and he took Todd Gurley because the guy took Le'Veon Bell at 101. I mean, I can't even imagine how that guy's feeling right now to pass on what Gurley did and get Bell. Anyway.
I wonder if he can play with us again next year.
I'm sure he will. Don't worry about it. I just see him mentioned on the podcast. He totally will. Dave, we've been talking about running backs. Let's shift to receiver here.
So, Phil, you have Deshaun Jackson on your bench right now. Deshaun, I have him in a few weeks as well. He's kind of like a little bit annoying to own, kind of like owning John Brown. It's like either you get it right or you get it wrong all the time. I tend to always get these guys wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So is he a difficult sit in this game, given he's playing for a team that just threw for 400 yards, inexplicably what they scored 3 points last week?
Yep, that was pretty crazy. 500 total yards of offense, put up 3 points.
Wow. It's almost like Mike McCarthy was coaching. Anyway, so he's
then they would have gotten shut out.
Playing against the Giants, over-under is 52. Is this a tough struggle for you a little bit, or is it you just like, well, you have O.J. Howard, you have Mike Evans, you have a lot of weapons here. What do you think?
For us, having in that same game, having Sterling Shepard and having Tampa Bay struggle so much against slot receivers, we'd rather go there than worry about the headache of Deshaun. And then we think with Marvin Jones being out, that Kenny Golladay will be huge. So we're hoping that he steps up due to his absence.
Talking with the 17th place overall team in the Football Guys Players Championship, Phil Hooton joining the show tonight. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. We saw the Seahawks-Packers put up a pretty good game last night, and the Seahawks won rushing the football, actually ran out the clock rushing the football. They did it a lot last night. They do it more than anybody else in the NFL right now. So, Phil, are all three of these running backs, Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, Mike Davis, are they able to be all flexed out going forward, or would you hesitate with one or more than one of those guys, since all of them seem to be getting a lot of touches?
I usually like to go with the lead back in a trifecta case, but so I lean more towards Carson and rather sit Penny or Davis. But if you have to play him, you have to play him.
Is that how you would look at that too, Dave, that Seattle ground game right now?
Yeah, watching the game last night, I would only really look at Carson. Penny in really a desperate situation. And Mike Davis, I think, is almost on the point of being cuttable, because it doesn't seem like he's kind of a third down back, but kind of not. He's not going to get goal line. Penny's the guy who's going to average 7-8 yards a carry if he's hot, and they're going to throw him in there as much as they can. I
wonder if because Penny kind of pulled up after he had that, I think it was like a 34-yard run in the first quarter. He kind of pulled up and got hurt after that.
Sure.
And I thought it was going to be the Penny show after that early Carson fumble, and then he got hurt. I wonder what would have happened if he wouldn't have come off the field there.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get worked in. Yeah. I'll tell you who was interesting, Dave. We were talking about Dynasty before the show a little bit, and you and I, one of our favorite Dynasty quarterback rookies this year, might be making his debut.
Yeah, so, Joe Flacco, it doesn't sound like he's going to play this week. People, they were talking a little bit about RG3 possibly making a start, but Lamar Jackson, first of all, you have a bunch of Dynasty leagues with us, first of all, which we appreciate, thank you. Do you own Lamar Jackson in some of our Dynasty leagues? Do you like him from a redraft perspective as a flyer if you have playoff-type-ish teams to see it? Let's say your backup quarterback's kind of dicey like Alex Smith. Do you look at Lamar Jackson, or what do you think about Lamar Jackson?
I really liked him coming out of the draft. I was crossing my fingers hoping Buffalo was going to draft him. I like him this week. We went after him in one for sure, but I think we got outbid, and then we ended up with Trubisky anyway, so it worked out.
Yeah, actually, that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
We have a question coming in from the chat from Wasp Guy. He wants to know, what do we think of Christian Kirk and Tre'Quan Smith this week? And I can tell you that Christian Kirk is actually hosting the Oakland Football Raiders this week, whereas Tre'Quan Smith is against Philadelphia in the Big Easy, so they're both at home. Phil, I'll pitch this to you first. Are these guys flexes for you this week, or would you kind of look for another option?
I'd be tempted with Kirk, not so much with Tre'Quan, because with Brandon Marshall coming in, who knows how much they're going to try to get him incorporated, similar to what Texans did with Demaryius Thomas. Is it going to be something like that? So that's what I would be worried about with Tre'Quan. But Kirk is a little interesting, but I'd be hesitant.
Yeah, I think I look at these guys and, like, to me they're like, you know, at best like second flexes. I really can't. You know, the whole thing with, and I know Tre'Quan Smith, you know, put up that 0, and I think it was Two-Packer in the chat room said, don't worry about, you know, he even after his dud last week, don't be afraid to play him. I am afraid to play him because I had him in 3 different leagues over Allen Robinson, which is just driving me batty. It cost me 2 wins. Really unfortunate. I do like Christian Kirk better this week than Tre'Quan Smith, but I'm trying, and I know 6 teams are on bye. It might be a luxury you don't have, but I'd try to find somebody else. Dave, do you like Kirk or Smith this week?
Yeah, I try to avoid both if possible.
Yeah. All right, and then he.
But I agree with Kirk over Smith if you're cheating.
Yeah. And then Wash Guy also wants to know, John Brown and Michael Crabtree startable this week after, you know, we kind of don't know the quarterback situation for Baltimore. Phil, how would you be treating Brown and Crabtree? Would you be moving them up and down your board differently based on if Joe Flacco or Lamar Jackson or RG3 is throwing to him?
If Lamar Jackson's in, I'd be hesitant with them and lean more on the tight end Hayden Hurst to get a boost because he was really good with him in preseason.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You know, I look at Brown and Crabtree, and I think I have Brown in 1 league, and I'm playing him, and I feel all right about it. Crabtree, I own him in 1 league, and he's on the bench right now, so I don't feel great about him this week. That's sort of how I stand on it. I don't think either one of them has a plum matchup against Cincinnati, but that's sort of my take on those guys. Dave, do you like either Brown or Crabtree in Week 11?
No. And the reason that Lamar Jackson, I think it's Valdez, Scantling, Spalding, whatever the hell his name is. He had 1 crappy catch last night.
Yep.
And I think it just goes to show, and Tre'Quan Smith is another example, that rookies cannot be trusted unless they're already showing volume, and they proved it in like 3 or 4 games. Lamar Jackson, he's still such a wild card. He's probably going to throw, what do you think his over-under, if there was one in Vegas, would be for passing yards? Probably like 185. And how many, passing touchdowns, like 1.2 or something like that, or 1.5. So
yeah,
what are you looking at? You know
point.
what I mean? The quarterback has to throw to the wide receiver. So if you're going to have a guy throwing for 180 yards and 1.5 touchdowns, you just got to get really lucky. So
you're rolling the dice a little bit.
There's a lot of high-scoring games out there. You
Yeah.
should be able to find some sort of ancillary player to put in.
You touched on this earlier, Phil, as we moved the discussion to Detroit, but Marvin Jones, I think he's been officially ruled out for Sunday. He did not play at all he did not practice at all this week. Lions really have a hodgepodge of receivers behind him. Nobody really stands out, and they don't have a dominant tight end threat either. You like Kenny Golladay this week. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's going to get a lot of targets. But shifting the focus to who could be the second most targeted pass catcher on Detroit this week, Theo Riddick. Is he a top 20 running back for this weekend, given that we know what he's capable of in the passing game?
I hope so, but I really haven't seen it this season, so I'm still a little hesitant about it. He just looks different than years past.
That is peculiar because, I drafted him in a couple leagues, and like when I went 0 RB, I'm like, okay, this Theo Riddick, I'm going to be able to plug him in a half dozen times this year, and he'll get me 12, 15 points, whatever. And it hasn't happened. I don't know if that's a philosophy change. I know they have a new head coach, but Jim Bob Cooter's still the offensive coordinator there. I'm a little surprised that
didn't he have an injury
Riddick hasn't been
earlier
able to.
too?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
And with Golden Tate missing, I mean, maybe the best is yet to come as far as this season goes with Theo Riddick, but I'm skittish with him right now. I think if he's going to explode or if he's going to put up a good week, that now is as good a chance as any. But it's one of those things where again, it's a little bit of gambling. Dave?
I actually like Theo Riddick. I like him going forward too because they lost Golden Tate. Now with Marvin Jones out, I do like him this week. And this last 2 games, he had 8 targets and 7 targets. He's getting targets. So I do like him. I think he might be an interesting player. That he could even be a guy on like one of those possible championship-winning teams as a flex player. If he's kind of dire and he's putting up like 12 to 15 to 18 points every once in a while if he gets a touchdown per game. I didn't draft Riddick anywhere, but I picked him up a few times in waivers. I'm pretty happy.
Is he in any of your lineups this week?
He's in like 2. I got him in 2.
Total on that game is 49.5. They are a 4.5-point home dog, so you would imagine that he would be getting some action. We are blessed to have one of the co-hosts of this show be the FFPC Dynasty Commissioner. And it's a big time in FFPC Dynasty football, Dave, because there's an important deadline coming up at 12:55 Eastern Time this Sunday.
That's right. So, have you been making trades in all your Dynasty leagues? Are you getting your teams all squared away, or what are you doing?
We're setting up more for 2019 in one. We got traded Thielen to get Bell for next season. And then in the other ones, we're sitting pat, seeing what happens.
We should talk about Le'Veon Bell just at least very briefly, and we can sort of button up the Bell conversation for 2019 since we know we won't see him this year. Phil, in your opinion, whoever signs Le'Veon Bell is going to be paying him a lot of money. They'll obviously want to use him quite a bit. Is he, as we look at it right now, kind of wherever he goes, is he still going to be a top 3, top 5 running back option next year?
If they use him as much as Pittsburgh used him, then I would say yes, because he's got the talent. It's just, can he stay healthy?
And Dave, they should, right? Whoever signs him, he should still be a high volume running back. I can't imagine going to a spot where he's going to be a part of an RBBC.
Well, he's not going to. First of all, he's not going to sign a contract that's not massive.
Right.
And so if someone's going to pay him massive money, they're going to have to use him as a player that just got paid.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's going to be a centerpiece of whatever offense it is. The hope and the prayer is that it's not a garbage offense like the Raiders, where you're wondering like how long.
And they're going to have a lot of cap space.
How long is the wait, right, until the team is really good? And the answer with Gruden, maybe never. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Phil, do you have any early predictions on where you could see Le'Veon Bell signing next year, or where you think he'll sign?
Well, I know Philly was interested, so that's one of them on my list. And then I hadn't really thought about that, but the Raiders does make sense that they would want to go after.
Yeah, I've heard the Raiders. I've heard Philly. Wask guy putting it in the chat room right now. The Jets. I've also heard Baltimore. That's another one. Gets a chance to play Pittsburgh twice a year. Go ahead, Dave.
I'd love to have him in Denver.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting too.
Philly scares me though, just because of the way that they use running backs. It's just like, can you do it? Can you use one running back instead of farting around with 4 of them every game?
Or more.
It's just it's so awful. It's worse than the Patriots ever were with the Philly running backs. You just cut. I didn't draft any this year. I picked a few up in waivers, but I'm happy I didn't, because it's just like it's a waste of roster space to carry those guys.
And that's sort of what we're entering with Seattle. Again, it's Pete Carroll, so take it with the tiniest grain of salt possible. But he's talking about getting J.D. McKissick and C.J. Procise back now to a backfield that already has Penny Davis and Chris Carson. And so, Dave, you mentioned Mike Davis being cuttable in fantasy. He might be getting cut by the Seahawks going forward as well.
He's a pretty all right player. He could sign somewhere.
He's not bad. Phil, we got a couple of emails here that came in for you. First one's from Randy in Collinsville, Illinois. Hey, Phil, would you rather be looking to acquire James Conner in Dynasty Leagues right now or selling him off? Good luck in the FPC. That's Randy in Collinsville, Illinois. It's sort of like a question of James Conner's value. How do you see him in Dynasty? Is this a guy that you want to be in business with, or is this a guy that you want to sell high on?
I think you could get something really high for him right now, so I might lean more that route. But I do like him as a player.
Dave, what would you be?
I would lean more towards selling high on him. I don't own him in
selling high. Do you own Conner in any dynasties?
I only own him in 2, and I'm sorry, I only own him in 2, and that's the 2 leagues where I own Bell.
Oh, okay.
Well, I did acquire him from the great Ron Meyer, 2-packer, a mid-season trade for a 2019 first. What looks like a playoff team.
the other league that you have him in, would you be looking to sell high, or do you view him as like, do you think, I mean, it's kind of early to say, but do you think Pittsburgh either invests in a running back in the draft on day 1 or 2, or do you think Jalen Samuels cuts into his workload next year?
I don't really think either too much. I mean, Samuels maybe he'll get the 30% of the carries, but I mean, Connor's proven that he could be a feature back. He's on a cheap contract. Pittsburgh has proven to be cheap at paying running backs.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect for them. I think just having Jalen Samuels, if you have Connor, you should really try and get Samuels. He's probably worth, I don't know if I'd pay a 2019 second for him, but I mean, if you can get him for a 2019 third, if you're trying to trade for him, get him. Definitely try and pick him up.
That's in the wheelhouse right there for sure. James Conner, FFPC main event, ADP, first round pick next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think if things kind of stay where they're at.
The way that you're seeing it, Phil, is Conner a guy that you would look at if Pittsburgh makes no significant additions to that backfield? Are you looking at Conner in the first round?
Oh yeah. Towards the middle or the end, but yes.
Yeah. One more email here for you, Jeff, and by the way, thank you, Randy in Collinsville, Illinois. Jeff in Hamilton, Ohio wants to know, what's up, man, with league playoffs starting? How much money do you usually like to have left in your fab budget for the last 2 weeks of bidding? Thanks for the email, Jeff in Hamilton, Ohio. Now, optimally, you'd like to have 1,000 in there to outbid everybody, but realistically, what do you sort of like to have, especially for a playoff team that you want to make sure you can make a last gasp? Grab those the last few players before the waiver wire locks of the season. Phil, what are you looking at having in your blind bidding budgets?
I'd like to have 200, but in the one we're talking about today, I think I only have like $4 left, so it just happens sometimes.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah, I looked and I don't think I'm down to single digits in any of mine, but I'm frustrated because it's like I should be bidding more, and I was getting outbid on guys. I'm like, I have the money. I'm not nutting up enough and bidding more. So,
man up, also.
So I need to man up. That's
going, buddy.
My wife says that all the time, for sure.
Well, that's the next show.
Yeah, that is the next show. And before we can get to that show, we have to ask Phil one last question.
One last question. This is it, Volky?
That's it, man. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Unless do you have more in the?
You know what? I have a comment for Phil. You played 3 Terminator leagues with us, and you're doing pretty well. Looks like you're in second or third in one, and third or fourth in the other. I can't remember exactly what. But I don't know if you noticed, we've been second and fourth. All right. I don't know if you noticed, we've been terminating a bunch of teams this year, more than ever before, and not on purpose, because we only terminate teams when they just don't cut a player. But I swear, we've probably lost around 10% of the whole damn tournament already.
And how many? What was it at?
360.
Yeah.
We're close to losing 10%.
Well, three dozen teams.
So I don't know if this is a question, Phil, but I'm saying you should keep playing. As long as you have an alarm on your phone or whatever, and you're cutting guys, don't ever leave Terminator, because you get a 10% discount by having these teams always get cut out.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we lost 2 in one of them. I think it's the one we're in second place. 2 dropped out because of not cutting. So yeah, it's this year.
It is. I don't know what it is. It's like people are just too busy with other. We send a reminder.
Right.
We'll send it later next year, but whatever. Anyway,
or we could send it twice. Is that worthwhile or no?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
One's good.
What about like a Sunday morning one? Just fire it off at 11 Eastern.
Instead of have you made your what it should say is just, have you made your Terminator cut yet?
Have 2 separate ones.
No, just one, just that one.
Just that one on Sunday morning.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because everybody's at their computer setting lineups, right, or on the app or whatever.
I don't know, maybe not. Then we'll get people like, I don't get an email at 11 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
All right, we can talk about this when Phil's not around. Hey, Phil, sorry about that. Anyway, last question here. Give us a guy that a lot of high-stakes players will be starting this week that sucks and shouldn't be in lineups, and also a sleeper that deserves to be in lineups this week that maybe they're not thinking about.
Sad to say, I'd have to say my boy Royce Freeman that I drafted in quite a couple. People are probably going to have to start him, but probably shouldn't. And then one sleeper we have this week that we're looking forward to is Jaquise Rogers of Tampa Bay. He had a good week last week. We hope he continues it this week.
Yeah, Rodgers sort of the forgotten man. Everybody's been all about Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones, but quietly Rodgers has made his way as a PPR factor in that Tampa offense. So I like that quite a bit. You are a Broncos fan, Phil. I'm gonna before I let you go, I want to pick your brain on this. Cortland Sutton is he a top 25 receiver in 2019? Can he get that high?
I hope so, because I believe that will result in more wins for Denver.
That's a good recipe. That is the recipe for success. Feed the ball to Cortland Sutton. And listen, Phil, we hope maybe we'll be feeding you some cash at the end of this season with this 17th place team in the Football Guys Players Championship. Congrats on all your success so far. Good luck, with the upcoming final week of the regular season. Then it's on to the league playoffs, and then that championship round sprint. I know you got a lot of best balls and a lot of dynasty stuff with the FFPC as well. Good luck in all those leagues, and thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and talking with us. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Phil Hooton, ladies and gentlemen, he is 17th place in the Football Guys Players Championship, looking to do some more damage as we get closer on to the end of the season. The season needs to end, Dave. It needs to end.
Why, to give a few teams in the playoffs in Kentucky?
No, it has nothing to do with that. I honestly, when you come in and give us the update on Kentucky on Tuesday or Wednesday at work or whatever, then I might check a couple of my teams. It's been there's some teams I haven't checked to see how I'm doing. I just go in, I set my lineup, I place my bids. It's
now that you're such a big time person, Balky.
It has nothing to do with that.
Tough. Balky's a true local celebrity here in the Fox Cities, Appleton area. It's a privilege to work with him nowadays.
It wasn't before.
Succumbs to this show. It's like this obligation that he still has to do that.
Yeah. No, I enjoy doing it. I really do. It's fun talking to the high stakes players every week. The high stakes lowdown. I love doing that.
We all appreciate it.
Well, listen.
Thank you so much.
I'm just so next week is gonna suck with the Thanksgiving games, and you got to get bids in and lineups early on Thursday.
It's supposed to give thanks to living in a free country and having family and friends and all that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I hate it too, man.
I never said I hated it. It will honestly once the games start on Thursday morning, it'll be fun. It'll be great. I'm just not looking forward.
Are you cooking the turkey?
No, I don't do that.
So you don't even do any of that.
I'm just saying.
Man
Well, here's
not doing
the
anything
thing.
to help with the turkey. That's tough work,
I want to get my workout in on Thursday morning, and then I'm doing the turkey trot with my dad, and then I got to work on lineups after that, and I think they start at 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central, right on Thursday.
Probably, but don't count on me for that.
Okay, I won't. And then, but then after that, it's a great day. You get to hang out and have a few adult beverages and.
What's a turkey trot, like a 5K run or something?
You have the option. There's different ones you can do it. My uncle and my brother are trying to get me to do the 8K, which is a 5-mile run, and my body is not conditioned to do that. And my dad wants.
You actually do run.
Yeah, but only 3 miles, and at the end of it, I'm pretty gassed. You're talking about adding on 5 miles, at 7 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day.
Adding on 2 miles, so 3.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that.
So I'm gonna do my regular run, but then my dad wanted to do the 2-mile walk, and nobody would do it with them. I said, okay, well, if you can't get anybody else, I'll do it with them. So I'm
gonna do the walk.
I'm gonna do the 2-mile walk. My daughter says she wants to come along, but I don't think she understands that it's going to be very boring for her in the stroller. So I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens.
That sounds like fun.
It'll be interesting. Anyway,
You're
Dave,
very blessed.
I am very blessed. I'm very thankful for that, and can't wait for that head to hit the pillow tonight.
You're not going to hate next week.
No, I never said I would. I'm not looking forward to the first few days. And then we're doing the local fantasy show on Wednesday back to back with my normal local regular daily talk show. So that's going to be whatever. Nobody cares.
Radio guys.
Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, Roto Pass, and Rob for tonight's rundown. This is interesting source. The San Diego Union Tribune's David Chow actually expects Jimmy Graham to miss 4 to 6 weeks with that broken thumb. He had a MRI today, confirmed the broken thumb that he suffered in Seattle against Seattle in the Thursday night game. He might need surgery. He has not been the godsend that I think the Packers were envisioning him to be when they signed him.
You could say that again.
He is their second leading receiver. He has the second most touchdown receptions on the team, but he just has not been involved in the offense. And number one, I'll say this. This is my hot take. Jimmy Graham has played his last game as a Packer. And number two, I don't think this is a huge fantasy loss.
No, it's actually a fantasy gain. You can clear up the roster spot. He's been awful. He's been really not.
Would you cut Jimmy Graham right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Really? Okay.
In a second.
I don't think I could do that given the tight end landscape. There is a chance that he could come back in a few weeks. And who are you cutting him for? Jesse James. Who would you rather have?
James O'Shaughnessy.
You'd rather James O'Shaughnessy?
Yes. Then Jimmy
All right,
Graham.
hold on. This is interesting.
Nick Vanette.
Okay.
Not proud of our first.
Vanette, I get. Would you like to put 5 on rest of season points?
Sure.
James O'Shaughnessy.
Sure.
Or Jimmy Graham?
Yeah.
I'm only going
to.
Well, here's the thing. I'm only going to do it with one player because there's a chance he doesn't come back.
Sure.
But I'll do it with one player. Is that who you're picking?
Sure. I'll
okay. So rest of the season fantasy points.
Only if you do the Irish voice when you say O'Shaughnessy.
Okay. Rest of the season fantasy points, FFPC points. I got Jimmy Graham, and Dave has James O'Shaughnessy. I got 5.
Oh, yeah. That'll be fun.
That will be fun. That'll be one we look back on, and one of us is going to say, what was I thinking? Probably going to be me.
For this season, you got to take Jimmy. Jimmy Graham's like a horse that broke his foot while during a race. You just take him out back and shoot him.
Yeah, I mean, 2 catches in the last 2 weeks. That's really unfortunate.
He's been terrible. I mean, he's been really. You know, the thing is, we actually we endorsed Jimmy Graham. I'll admit it. So I'm sorry if you drafted him and do anything we said. But you know, we have for the longest time said that the Packers offense doesn't support throwing to his tight end.
Yeah.
They just never do it.
Yeah. No, I think you have to. And it's not like they haven't had guys in there. Like, ever since Jermichael Finley, there has been nobody. That Martellus Bennett was a bust. Jimmy Graham's looking like a bust. They're going to be trotting out some, Mercedes Lewis, and maybe it's Bobby Tanya, Dave. Maybe he's the godsend. Mr. 54-yard touchdown catch on his first career NFL catch. Maybe he's the guy that they need to work in the offense more at the tight end position. I don't know.
I don't know what they need to do.
Go ahead. What are you going to say? Oh,
so
nothing.
They need to do something.
Yeah, they do. They definitely need to do something. Let's talk about a former Packer, Jordy Nelson, with a knee injury, is out for Week 11 versus Arizona. This is according to Vic Tafur on Twitter. Martavis Bryant, also with a knee injury, officially ruled out. So, Dave, here's the Raiders receivers after the Cooper trade and these injuries that will be going up against the Arizona Cardinals this week. Brandon LaFell, Seth Roberts, Dwayne Harris, Marcel Aitman, and practice squad call-up Saeed Blacknall, only receiving options for Derek Carr. Here's the fantasy analysis. Hopefully you got the Cardinals defense this week.
They were out there in a lot of spots.
I picked them up in 3 spots. I was pretty happy about that.
I picked up in a few. I bid between a winning bid of $4 and up to $177, which was a big mistake.
Wait,
out of 1,000.
You won?
I won for $4.
Okay.
I also won for $177.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I went up to like 60 or 70 something, and I thought that was crazy. And in one league, I didn't even get them for that. They went for like 150. But you got to spend this money. It's going to be gone soon. And if you're talking about, again, trying to make the playoffs in the final week of the regular season, the Cardinals could put up like 25, 26. That's money well spent.
Absolutely. I mean, by the way, Kurt's team that won the whole thing, Pigpen,
yeah,
rostered the Cardinals, who scored 33 points and actually got them the victory. In that particular league, I had the Patriots defense. They were on bye. And this league, there was only like 8 or 9 defenses left, and the Cardinals were by far the best one. And I had like $250 bidding left, so I just screw it.
There's a couple of leagues where I already had 2 defenses that I liked the rest of the way, and I picked up the Cardinals as a third. I'm not averse to shedding depth at this point in the season. The buys are going to be behind us. I can't remember if I brought this up with you or not. I'll say it on the show. There's 6 teams on bye this week, Dave, and I think next week, when there was only 2 teams on bye, people are going to be scrambling and hurting more next week than they are this week. Have you seen the teams on bye this week?
Yeah.
Bills,
right.
Jets, Niners, Browns. I mean, it's like there's not a lot of fantasy. And then you look at next week, there's like 15 guys that are going to be healthy. They're just going to be on bye that you can't play.
Well, in Kentucky, I think strategically, you really at this point should have 2 defenses.
Yeah.
And having 3 is not bad because when they do the roster, when people are cutting defenses now, they get locked in Kentucky, and you can't pick any more up. And so you really need to have 2 to 3 and be playing matchups. And so I kind of try to do that this week beforehand, making sure I got at least like 4 of the 5 weeks covered if it's a playoff team. So. You
like the Patriots in weeks 14 through 16?
I have to look, but I thought it was 14 and 16, but it might be 14.
It is. Week 15 they play. It's a pretty good offense. I can't remember who it is. I'm going to look.
I do like the Redskins 14, 15, and 16. They have good matchups.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I have it all written down, but obviously not right here. But
I know.
Teams, 12 and 13.
I think New England gets Buffalo in week 14, and then in week 16 they get the Bills. Yeah. So, no, here's what it is. I'm sorry. I was wrong. They're at Miami in Week 14.
Mm-hmm.
They host the Bills in Week 16, but they're at Pittsburgh in Week 15.
Yeah,
so you don't want to play them then. You need to find somebody else then. But, yeah, I mean, Patriots are going to make good starts in 14 and 16.
Yeah, there's really a lot of good defenses that will do well in the next 5 or 6 weeks. You just got to find that right matchup.
Absolutely. Indianapolis Colts running back Marlon Mack participated in practice today, and he's not on the injury report. Obviously, good news. Dave, do you like him as let's say a top 20 option against the Titans this week?
You know, Titans defense is always underrated, and they're always pretty darn good. But I do like Marlon Mack.
Would you like to play Would You Rather with Marlon Mack?
Sure, I got nothing else going on.
All right, perfect. Marlon Mack or Kerryon Johnson at home against the Panthers?
Oh, that's kind of close, actually.
It is.
I'll take Kerryon Johnson's skill set.
I agree. Marlon Mack or Mark Ingram at home against the Saints, against the Eagles?
I'll take Ingram, high-scoring game.
I agree. Same game, Marlon Mack or Deion Lewis. The game's in Indianapolis.
I'm going to take Mack in this situation. Deion Lewis gets a lot of catches, but Henry was actually looking pretty decent. He had some carries last week.
Lewis was running hot. I'll take him. Tariq Cohen at home against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football.
You know, I know Cohen's great, but I'm going to take Mack.
I'm going to take Cohen there. By the way, do you know
5 on that.
We can do 5 on that.
Sure.
Okay, so Cohen versus Mack, right?
Sure.
And I have Cohen, you have Mack, and of course, I have 5 on it. I got 5 on it. That's week 11, Dave.
Thanks.
Just letting everybody know. Marlon Mack or Joe Mixon?
Mack. I don't like Mixon.
Really?
No.
At Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore. It's a good damn defense.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they have. I mean, AJ Green's not going to play. Yeah, I guess I agree with you.
I mean, you can disagree. It's fine.
No, you're making good points here. I'm easily just persuaded.
Baltimore was a top defense pickup this week.
No, you're right. Leonard Fournette at home against the Steelers.
I'm gonna have to go with Fournette.
I agree. Let's go the other way on this one. Get some more interesting ones. Did I just say that the Vikings have back-to-back Sunday night games?
You just did now.
Okay. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah.
One of them got flexed, but that's how it's going to work.
It's kind of not very entertaining for people who don't want to watch the Vikings.
Well, I mean, Bears and Vikings, that's a battle for NFC, the North Division lead this week. And then next week is basically like if the Packers lose against Minnesota, they're done. So you know that they're going to be firing all their bullets.
Still, it's almost like when you have to watch that stupid NFC East all the time. It's like, oh, we got the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Yeah, I know that is frustrating.
Cowboys and the Redskins. It's like, you know what? I'm sick of watching these stupid East Coast teams. No offense there, Washington.
I guess maybe there's a chance that they could change the game next week, and maybe that gets flexed out. But I don't know when they make those calls.
Maybe.
Marlon Mack, here's a good one, Dave. Marlon Mack or Dalvin Cook at the Bears?
Oh, man. Actually, I think I'll start Mack.
I would too. I had to do my.
Cook's really good. I mean, Cook's, he's back.
I had to do my House of Flooring busts of the week on the Appleton Trophy Fantasy Football Show. My bust of the week was Dalvin Cook this week.
Yeah,
do not like him.
Tough matchup.
Marlon Mack or Alex Collins at home against the Bengals?
I'll take Mack, but I do like Collins this week and going forward.
I like Mack better, and let's do one more here, Dave. Marlon Mack or PPR Wunderkind, Jalen Richard at the Cardinals.
I'm Mack. I'm not gonna start a Raiders player when they may score between 0 and 6 points.
All right, okay. No,
Feel free to. I mean, Richard's probably gonna have like 12 to 15 points with all the catches.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He ain't gonna score though.
I mean, honestly, but if you're starting Richard, you're not expecting a touchdown. You're starting him for the targets.
Right.
I agree with you though. I don't think it's bad.
Richard or Riddick this week.
Richard. I'm going to go with Richard.
I would take Riddick.
Yeah, I'm not going to put 5 on it, but that's the way I feel.
I feel like the Lions might score some points.
I don't think there's much fantasy analysis here, but James Conner definitely not. James Conner fully participated in practice today. He's not even on the injury report. You kind of touched on this earlier. Jalen Samuels is a guy, and obviously you can't add him anymore tonight, but Jalen Samuels, if he's out there next week, make sure you grab him if you have Conner.
He got picked up in most leagues.
You obviously like him much, much better as a handcuff to James Conner than Stevan Ridley, correct?
Yeah, we talked about Samuels a lot. I thought he was a really fantastic. I actually thought I made that argument that Samuels would be the guy that displaces Bell next year, but Connor has been amazing, so that's just probably not going to happen.
No interest in Stevan Ridley then, if Samuels is taken, right? If he's gone in your league?
No interest at all.
All right, one other thing. I just saw this in the chat. Wasp guy, who scores more from this point on, Leonard Fournette or Dalvin Cook? I don't know where I fall on this one, Dave.
I'd have to look at their schedules a little bit. I'd probably...
I am leaning towards Fournette, just on the surface.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about it. I actually might have to lean the other direction towards Cook because I feel like the Vikings are more likely to play with the lead. They have a better quarterback, a better offense. Jaguars still have Bortles at QB. But Fournette, he's a damn good player. Maybe the reason they don't do as well. I mean, when he's out, they don't do well. But he's great.
But I mean, he is their player, whereas the Vikings have Thielen and Diggs and Latavius Murray is still getting a lot of touches.
That's a really good point, actually. So Fournette truly is the centerpiece of that team.
Yeah.
Like the only real player that's good.
I don't know. I mean, you ask me tomorrow, I might say Cook, but I'm saying Fournette right now.
Yeah, I might go the other way tomorrow too, actually.
Sammy Watkins not expected to practice today. Oh, this is actually old. He did not practice today. So tomorrow's practice is going to be big.
Oh, Monday night game.
Yeah, it's a Monday night game.
It made me nervous.
Yeah. Which they're playing in Los Angeles. Now, you have no interest in Demarcus Robinson or Chris Conley if he doesn't play, correct?
Correct. Even too many other weapons.
Okay, but I'm just saying because the total is at 160 or something
it is
in that
in the
game.
60s, yeah.
So,
I guess if you were super desperate, Conley.
Six teams on bye.
Well, yeah. You should hopefully have picked up somebody else by then.
If Watkins, let's say, let's do this scenario. Let's do both scenarios. Let's say he doesn't practice, okay?
Yeah.
And you have to make a decision let's say you don't have anybody else on Monday Night Football that you can plug in if he's inactive. Are you playing somebody else if he doesn't practice tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. If he does practice...
I'm trying to make sense of your question.
Well, does it make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. If he does practice tomorrow, are you going to roll the dice that he'll be active on Monday night?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard all week that they expect him to play and he's back and all that, so it seems to me like they're just being precautious.
Yeah.
Unless there's a hiccup in practice, we'll find out about it.
And you'll have time to make the decision. I'm just putting it out for the listeners because we will not be doing a show before next Friday. All right, let's get to some emails here, ladies and gentlemen. It is fantasy feedback time.
If you've got a question for Eric, Dave, or tonight's guest, send them a tweet at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Post it in the chat room during the broadcast. Hashtag your tweet with HSFF or just smack Eric in the head. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or at HSFF Hour on Twitter.
Watch Guy wants to know, Dave, is Rams versus Chiefs the game with the most fantasy points this season for FFPC? I think it is.
If he's asking if it's going to be the one that has the most, I will say no, it's not because of the huge sample size of other games.
Oh, just offhand?
I'm saying it's not going to end up being that way.
Okay.
But I think it's probably projected to be that way.
Final score, 4-2. Be played in a monsoon in Los Angeles. I don't know. Let's go to Daryl in Grand Rapids, Michigan to kick things off. I keep second-guessing this decision this week. Should I start Phillip Rivers or Dak Prescott? Thanks, guys. Love this show. Daryl in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We love you, and thank you.
I got the answer to this one.
Before you do, it is Phillip Rivers taking on the Denver Broncos at home, and it is Dak Prescott going to Atlanta to play. Go ahead with your answer, sir.
I'll take Dak Prescott. He's been hot, been playing well. Atlanta defense cannot stop anybody. They're ranked 30th or 32nd or whatever. Prescott has his legs. Rivers is a low-volume passer. He just doesn't throw it that frequently. And Denver's got a pretty darn good defense, so I feel pretty comfortable starting Prescott over Rivers.
I'm gonna look up the totals right now, but I think I'm actually gonna agree with you and play Prescott over Rivers. I thought Rivers was gonna put up Boffo points last week. That didn't happen, and they just sort of grinded it out in that game. They are a 7-point favorite, which could mean a lot of Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon this week, Dave. Total on that game is 45.5. That Cowboys-Falcons game, 49.5, and the Cowboys are a 3-point dog, so you'd imagine that they will be throwing.
Yeah, I just get a feeling that there's a chance that the Chargers-Broncos game could end up being one of those lower-scoring games. I mean, 45 and 49.5 doesn't seem like much of a difference, but it really is in the NFL. 49.5 means that's a possible shootout. The game script itself is +3, it's closer. I don't see Atlanta. I know Dallas' defense is pretty solid, but I don't see Atlanta getting stopped. So I just feel like there are going to be some points scored in this game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I would play Prescott. Glenn in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Who would you play this week? Shepard against Tampa or John Brown versus the Bengals? Thanks for the email, Glenn. We kind of touched on both these guys so far. John Brown taking on the Bengals, and then Sterling Shepard in that big game against the Giants. Now, I'll just reveal the total.
Tampa?
Yes, thank you.
Is that right, Tampa?
Sometimes I feel like the Giants are playing each other the way that they play.
They're
beating each other.
Great recovery, buddy.
Thank you. Giants are 2.5-point favorites with a total of 52 in that game. And then that Ravens-Bengals game, there is no line on that, no total posted because we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be for Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm starting Shepard. It's not even that hard. Yeah, super high-scoring game. Shepard's pretty involved. And John Brown remember we talked about it 2 weeks ago, I think. We were talking about John Brown. And our guest at the time, he was using him, and I'm like, I'm not that confident in him doing well going forward. He's always been that dicey hit or miss guy.
Yeah.
That's what he's turned into.
It's when he hits so good. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the frustrating thing. It's like when he hits, it's not like 7 for 80 or something like that. It's usually like 9 for 140 and 2 touchdowns.
Sure.
That's
this
the
is
thing.
1 for 3.
Exactly, and
Shepard didn't have a lot of targets last week, but he did get that late rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and Shepard, say what you will about him, but even contending for, it's weird because he contends for touches with both Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley and Evan Ingram.
Two lesser stuff.
With Eli Manning as his quarterback.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't think that he'd be able to churn out a lot of value, but he kind of has been for where you drafted him.
He's been doing all right.
Kyle in South Burlington, Vermont. Dear Balky and Dave, roll with Ito Smith over AP Sunday, or is that insanity? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Kyle in South Burlington, Vermont, and thank you for the email. Dave, Ito Smith is in that Cowboys game, and Adrian Peterson is taking on the Houston Texans at home.
Yeah, I feel like that the Washington-Houston game is going to be low scoring.
I am of the same ilk as you. It's a 42.5 total on that game.
And Ito Smith, he's been doing great, he's catching passes. I think I'm still going to roll with the Hall of Fame running back over Ito Smith.
I'm going to play Ito Smith, and here's why. Everything we already said about the shootout potential of that game. A lot of points being scored. If you watch that Falcons game last week, as a Tevin Coleman owner, I was very frustrated that they gave him the ball all those times at the goal line and he couldn't get in the end zone. Ito Smith actually creeped into the Falcons offensive packages a lot when they were in the red zone after that. So I feel like, not only was he getting touches in between the 20s, he might be like the guy who they want to score when they get down there too, as far as a running back goes. I would roll the dice and play Ito Smith. That is me. It's very, very close.
It is pretty close. It's not bad.
Let's do one more email and we'll call it a night here. Jeff in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Hi, John and Kellen. Uzomah talking on Baltimore. I think he means taking on. Uzomah talking on Baltimore. Maybe there's some bulletin board material I'm not aware of. Or Vance McDonald at Jacksonville needs some FPC magic to get into the playoffs. Good luck to you, Jeff in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Thanks for the email. Good luck getting that FPC magic. Do you have a strong feeling on this, Uzomah or McDonald? McDonald is, again, it's going on the road to take on Jacksonville. Total on that game is actually 47. Wow, that seems high, but maybe not.
Pittsburgh's a good offense.
They are, but they are going on the road. And they're a 5-point favorite, too. Oh, Jacksonville. What happened? What happened? And then C.J. Uzomah, like I said, no line on that game yet.
I do have a strong feeling on it, and I really don't.
And you don't, okay. Wasp guy likes Vance McDonald.
Yeah, I think I would lean that way. Probably better quarterback play, and he is he does get targets. Yeah, in spite of the fact that there's Juju and Antonio Brown, he gets pretty good targets actually.
Yeah.
Uzomah's had some zeros.
That's the annoying thing.
I think if you look at who's a more talented player, I mean, McDonald's
Vance
much
McDonald,
more talented.
Sigmund Bloom from Football Guys, who some of his analogies are just so great, and he had a great one this week. He was talking about Vance McDonald, and he looks like one of those mutter SUVs when he gets the ball in the secondary, like he's just rocking through the field looking for like contact and looking for something to hit. Yeah, it's just so, and that's like so apropos, I thought, with how Vance McDonald plays.
That's a great point.
I would roll with McDonald. I'm actually playing Uzuma in a couple of leagues, and I don't feel great about it. But again, there's nothing out there. There is nothing. It is a barren wasteland of a landscape for tight ends. It's frustrating.
You know, O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
He's been picked.
Hey, throw me the ball. I'll put it in the end zone for you. Yeah, I guess O'Shaughnessy is the guy I'll have to look
He's
at.
the pot of gold at the end of the ring.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he is. Yeah, he's the leprechaun tight end that is gonna
Lucky Charm.
give you the gold. I don't know. All right, that's going to do it for our show. I want to thank Phil Hooton, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Rice, and, of course, each and every one of you. Special happy birthday, Dave, we should mention on the show.
Thank you. Not my birthday.
Yes, yeah, hilarious. The mascot, the official mascot of the show, Two-Packer,
Ron Meyer.
celebrating his 72nd birthday today. Happy birthday, buddy.
I'm glad you haven't died yet.
Yeah, exactly. We need you to be part of the Kentucky 5. We can't make it to Kentucky 4.
72nd.
Which, by the way,
Bring me the pens this next year.
Two-Packer responded to one of the tweets from the local fantasy show, and we actually read his tweet on the air. So
That's
now,
the one I retweeted?
what one did you retweet?
Where you said, should I start Mahomes?
Yeah, that one.
Rodgers?
That's
Am I
the one.
good or am I great?
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, we read that one on the air, and so now Meyer is Two-Packer's a local celebrity as well. We will be back, ladies and gentlemen, next week with special guest John Maris, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Dave. John Maris is in 11th place in the Football Guys Players Championship currently. Do you know where he resides?
Luxembourg.
Right down the road in Menasha, Wisconsin.
Oh.
And he's in 11th place in the Football
We're
Guys
meeting
Players
with the
Championship.
Stone Cold Bar and
Maybe we
Grill
can
for a live show.
maybe we can have him do a live show. I don't know. That's a good idea. Buffalo, Cleveland, Miami, New England, the Jets, and the Niners all on bye this week. Make sure you get those players out of there. They are not going to help you this week, and you need to make that push for your league playoffs. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Have a happy and a healthy. We really appreciate you listening. Celebrate with family. Enjoy football. It will be a great day, and I am looking forward to it, Dave. Good luck in Week 11. Enjoy the games. Your weekend, ladies and gentlemen, officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
You know, I was just thinking about this. I check in at Swarm at a local establishment or restaurant. I usually get a TFTI from Two-Packer.
Yeah.
And I noticed he checked in at Parker John's Barbecue tonight. I didn't get an invite to Parker John's.
TFTI, Mike.
Yeah, we're giving him the broadcasted TFTI version tonight. You lousy son of a gun.
I was already at dinner, though.
Hey, yeah, that's true. Good luck in your games this weekend. I hope you all make the playoffs. And we have a lot to discuss next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.